Can't hear it. We can't hear it.
You can't hear that?
Mm-mm.
All right, we about to get started here. Welcome everyone to Think Outside the Red Box. We're so happy
Welcome.
to have you. We are here each and every Monday at 7:30 p.m. And as always, we are just here to encourage and inspire, teach and instruct, motivate you, push and pull you into your purpose. And so we are here. Becoming a Being is here always to talk about those things that are going on in our minds each and every day, those things that just kind of we need to talk about them. We need to have some dialogue. Some conversations are hard, some conversations are not. Tonight, I'm hoping that you'll enjoy this conversation as I present our special guest, one of our fan favorites, one of three of our fan favorites, Larry Scott. Welcome.
Woohoo! Hey!
How
All
we
right.
doing?
Larry's one of my favorites. I always like to have these conversations with Larry. He keeps me on my toes, okay? He keeps me on my toes with what I need to be thinking, what I need to be speaking, and what need to be teaching. So I'm glad to have him on here as we talk about tonight. Mm, take them cuffs off. All right, so we're going to talk about expectations in relationships. All right, so there's different expectations in relationships. And sometimes expectations are expressed and sometimes they are not. But are your expectations unrealistic of the person that you have put those expectations on? So we're going to talk about that tonight, because sometimes we hold people to a standard based upon how we grew up, what our experiences were. We expect them to do things that's not within their capacity because, again, we bring things with us from our past experiences, and then we want that person to be what we envisioned this person to be, or give us what we envision them to be. And the question really is it realistic? All right, so we're going to talk about expectations. And I can't forget about, so sorry about this, my co-host Dion Coates. Welcome as
Woohoo!
usual,
Hello.
Dion.
How's
How can I
everybody
forget
this evening?
introducing you?
That's all right. No worries.
All right, y'all.
I'm here every Monday.
Every Monday. All right. So don't forget, we always love the interaction. We always want to know your feedback, your comments. So don't leave us hanging tonight. Can you talk to me, please? Go ahead, put your thoughts in the chats as we have this conversation. And don't forget to share. Don't forget to share or do a watch party as we talk about taking the cuffs off. All right. So before we kick this off, Dion, is there anything that you want to say?
Just that I'm excited to have Larry aboard tonight. I'm glad we're going to get into some conversations and talk about some things and hopefully excite some people to think a little outside of that red box. So I'm just excited about that.
Yes,
That's
people, I
all.
hope that when you're tuning in that we are helping you forward think, get outside of the box of where you are, out of your comfort zone, and start thinking about some other things. So I am going to get right into this. We're not going to waste any time. Larry, so
Yes.
are you ready for me?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right, y'all. The first thing is first that I want to talk with Larry about, because Larry said something on one of his podcasts. Don't forget to tune into him and his wife. They have a Facebook Live podcast on Thursday evenings at 7 o'clock. intimacy to progression. Did I say that right? No,
The pro,
progression.
the progr-
Oh my
There you
God.
go. It's okay.
To intimacy. All right. So tune into them on Thursdays. It's a really, really, really good conversation that they have. All right. So, but he said something on one of his podcasts I was listening to, and as we were thinking about this topic, I just had to have him on. And Larry, what I want to get down to, what I want to get started with is the comment that you made on one of your podcasts about choosing your wife based upon the attributes and skills that she had that you felt could help you propel you to your purpose. And you can tell me if I'm misquoting you, but you did not marry her out of being in love, but seeing that she had the qualities of someone who could help you with your purpose. Is that accurate? Did I take that away correctly?
Yes, for the most part, I was not in love with my wife when I married her. I loved her, but I was not in love with her.
And
So
so,
that
what
your
does that,
statement is correct.
for our people out there, what's your definition of love versus in love? Because I think everybody sometimes they go back and forth. So, clarify what's that difference for you?
So this is my personal definition of what love is. I say that love is a choice. First of all, it's a choice. It's a, and it's not an emotion. I think we misconstrue with love being an emotion, but love is a choice. It's a choice to risk being hurt. So what I mean by that is um, it's vulnerability, right? It's allowing yourself to be naked, okay? And I chose love opposing to falling in love because even my wife would tell you we both have pretty much dispelled the ideal of falling in love in general. Like we do not really uh, uh, um, like to use that terminology or that phrase at all.
Okay. So, when I think of being in love, I
Hmm.
think of wanting to spend time with that person. If I'm in love with you, I want to be around you. I want to spend time with you. Um,
Hmm.
is that the case?
So if you're not in love with me, you don't want to spend time with me.
Maybe, maybe not. I think I'd be more
and
inclined
and
to
and the
want to
thing
spend
about it.
time with someone that I'm in love with versus someone that I just love. That doesn't mean that I wouldn't, but I have more of, I guess, urgency to say, yeah, I want to spend some quality, what I would think is quality time with that person if I was in love with them versus if I just love you, if we spend time, okay. If we don't spend time, no skin off my
Okay.
back.
So I when I think of being in love, it equates. Well, I'd say this first. If you can fall in love, then you can fall out of love. Okay. And if you really think about it, when someone says I'm in love with you, what they're really saying is that your presence, your actions, your behavior, who you are to me makes me feel a certain way. And so you're equating it with a feeling more
Mhm.
so a decision because what happens, whatever that person is doing or saying that makes you feel a certain way, what happens when they're unable to do it any longer? If you were in love with his ability, like say y'all enjoy fitness, y'all both like health and fitness and jogging in the morning, and these are the type of things that bond you together. But what if he's in a car accident? He's no longer able to do that jogging anymore, and that spark is not there because he's unable to do the things that's caused you to have that feeling towards him. What happens to the love? If it's predicated upon what he can do or say or provide, then if you're falling in love based on those things, then you can quickly fall out of it as well.
I think I agree. Feel that. So
So, Yeah.
Go ahead.
So what? So if you really think about it, really think about this. If you're desiring to be in love, it's really being in an emotion. It really speaks into an inadequacy. I need this person. I want to be with this person because they make me feel a certain type of way.
Look,
And
did I come and put that big old smile on your face? Hey, Anitra. All right, so let's get back to the other part of the question because I get derailed because I get all. I told you y'all what he do to me. He gets me to thinking. All right, so you're looking at her characteristics and her abilities and what she's bringing to the table, and you're not necessarily thinking about love. Now, I'm gonna say, when I first heard that, I'm like, I don't know about that. I just don't know. But of course, I didn't say to myself, not at all. But I just had
Right.
to think about that. And so then I heard this
Yeah.
pastor online
Hmm.
talk about when you're looking for a mate, how you need to be looking for someone who fits your purpose. And I said, oh my God, that's what Larry did. That's what Larry talked to
Right.
us about that.
So it
Okay.
was, yeah, it was y'all may not like this phrase, but it's not it's not original from me. I didn't coin this phrase, but I heard somebody say this, but I absolutely agree with it. It was actually Pastor Mark in Florida. He said that marriage is a business decision, and I totally agree with that. It's a business decision. Not saying that there's no love involved. It's not saying that you don't have no emotions towards the person at all. What I'm saying is you want to build proper foundation. You want to think about, if we're gonna keep it from a biblical perspective, the Bible says what God has joined together, not who. So it's the what that has brought us together. And if it's not the what that has brought you together, then your love and your marriage foundation could be a little rocky, because if it's based on what that person is, or what can provide, or what have you, then what if they cannot do it any longer? Because, say for instance, if my purpose is to, have a podcast to speak to people in the public. If I can't walk no more, that don't mean I can't speak no more. I can still do the things that I'm called to do, even in my physical inability, but I still can do the things that I'm called to do and still be a partner to the person. So it's more so of a choice to stay than it being based on what somebody can do and provide for you.
Dion, I see you shaking your head. You got something to say? You're on mute.
Well, I mean, I want to talk about this love thing because it's important that we understand. Because you talked about falling in love, you talked about being in love, or your decision to stay in love.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
so I'm just curious about that emotion that you talked about, because as women, we have emotions, and a lot of times, a lot of things we do are based on emotions, how we feel, and
Hmm.
we fall into
Right.
something. So, how do we
Right.
clean that up? Because I've been married for 30 years, and I made a decision. You can call it a business decision, maybe. I
Yeah.
certainly did see the potential in my husband when I married him. Um, but I'm the kind of person, I gotta feel something too, you know.
Well,
So
well,
we
that
don't, so people don't
feeling.
get it misconstrued that we're not just talking of
Hmm.
strictly a business decision. There has to be some kind of something attached. Would you agree?
Um. So let me further explain then. As far as the feeling and the emotion, as you were talking, it reminded me of the encounter that Eve had with the serpent in the garden,
Hmm.
and the fact that he approached her because she represented the feminine quality. She represented the soul, the emotions, personality, the thoughts. And why did he approach her and not the masculine, the male? Because the soul is more predicated on an emotion, and like you even said it yourself. you said something about falling, and that's exactly what happened to Eve. She fell from glory. She fell, and 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 falling. Even the word fall, that doesn't sound very good in the first place. When I think of falling, I'm thinking of scraping my knee and busting my head. I would prefer to walk in love. I would prefer to make a conscious decision to love, not to fall. So I rather, like, again, I rather use my intellect. And first of all, before I love someone, I want to make sure that I love myself as well. Because what happens, I'm speaking to that inadequacy. When you have an inadequacy within you and you're looking for someone to fill your voids, and you found a glimpse of that in somebody, again, they may not be able to sustain the very thing that you're looking for from them to fill the voice that you have. And what happens if they can't continue to fulfill those things, that's when you start to fall out of love, or thinking that maybe I made the wrong decision, or maybe I made the wrong choice, because you're looking for that person to do something for you to make you feel a certain way when they may not be able to sustain that feeling for you. That's not their responsibility. That is your own.
So, Larry,
So
you
if I can live, hold on, Angelina, can I dig a little deeper?
Sure.
dig a little deeper.
Because just a little bit, Larry, just a little bit.
Hmm.
Because to make a decision to marry somebody based on a business decision, and I hear you, and to
Hmm.
marry somebody that you love or that you have a strong feeling for, okay?
Hmm.
Um, how does that translate for us to make that conscious decision if feelings are not there? Because keep in mind, for women it's a little different, because I'm sure so we're not going to talk about falling in, because I understand the word and
Hmm.
how you relate to the word, but just being in love. I'm
Hmm.
sure Nitra was in love when she decided to marry you, because I'm sure she
Was
wouldn't have
she?
not made that decision.
And
Ask her.
Or she
were you
wasn't.
put it on there? I want to put in the comments. Were you in love?
And
Anitra,
ask her
you
if
out
she's in
there? Were you in love
and
with
ask her
Larry?
and ask her if she's in love today.
Oh, I
So
bet she is.
and
I
be
bet she
and
is.
I think you might be shocked, because we've been married 11 years. You've been married 11 years, and we've talked about this, and we actually share the same understanding and concept in regards to being in love. But
I
let's
know.
go back to it being a feeling. Um, again, our okay, we're going to have to go way back a little bit now. We have to go way back. Um, our culture, our experiences, our past, our traumas has caused us to get into a certain place where we have these inadequacies within ourselves, and we stop looking within ourselves for happiness and joy, and we start looking for it in something else. We look for it in people,
Hmm.
we look for it
Hmm.
in cars and fame and in fortune. What we essentially do, and I'm not sure if this is on line with the topic, but I would like to say this. What happens, because we're in a fallen state, man is in a fallen state, we have no sense of identity. We do not know who we are. And what happens is it's in your nature, in your makeup, it's in your purpose to have identity. So you come into this world looking for identity. And what happens when you don't have one, you will create one for yourself. You will create an identity for yourself, and you'll create a path to what I like to call salvation. You'll create a path to say, once I achieve this thing, then I'm going to be fulfilled within myself. I'm going to be happy. I'm going to be at peace. So then you create, Angelina, I think you talked about this. You create this picture of what happiness is supposed to look like. You create a picture of what being fulfilled looks like. So you're looking for this individual that fits in that puzzle piece of this picture that you created, and they may have a glimpse of it, but they cannot ever fully fulfill whatever it is that you're missing. Because what happens, again, if something happens to them, or if they get hurt, or they don't have the intellectual capacity to do the things they did before, you cannot base your how you feel about self, because feelings is about self, right? It's about how you feel about you, your feelings. But you're making someone else responsible by how you feel. That's your feeling. It's called self-esteem. Self-esteem is how you feel about self. So if you how you feel about self and how you feel today is based on what I did or said or not did, then you have a rocky foundation there where you have to go within to find that total fulfillment and joy.
Okay. I need your answer but before I give her answers, I need to go back. So when we talk about expectations, and so you chose someone based upon purpose, and but was there an expectation, or did you just like know, like you just really studied her to say, you know what, she's got everything that I need in order to make this purpose? But what if your expectation of her fulfilling that need, like, isn't that like putting her under an expectation? Or did you have a conversation? Did you communicate that expectation before you said I do? So for her to be able to say, yeah, I'm in.
Two
Did that
things
make
I like to say. Yeah, yeah. Two things. When I First of all, we talk about on our platform progression of intimacy. We talk about um, the progression of intimacy. It talks about 4 stages of intimacy, where we talk about how the friendship stage is so important, and it should be first the friendship stage, then you go into courtship, then you go into engagement, and then you go into marriage. In our friendship stage, we were not interested in one another. We noticed one another and we interacted with one another, but we necessarily was not interested at that particular time. So because I was not trying to give any false impression about who I was, and she was not either, I was able to see some of the qualities, her genuine qualities, without her trying to put her best foot forward. So I had interactions with her, individually, amongst friends, and also amongst her family, and she saw some of the qualities that I said, wait a minute, with me and her joined together, I know that we can be a mighty force in this realm. So I could not say that I totally knew what my purpose was, but I knew what I brought to the table, and I saw a glimpse of what she brought to the table also. So like for instance, one thing that stuck out to me was when I was at dinner at her house with families and friends, she asked to fix my plate, right? And I said, yeah, okay. I told her what I would like on my plate and all of that. But I said, that was nice. But what I noticed is that she didn't just fix my plate, she fixed everybody's plate. So she did not do that to impress me. She did that because that's who she was, right? And so that spoke volumes to me. And I seen her in an administration capacity, and I'm a visionary. So me being a visionary, I don't like to maintain things. I like to create things. But she's the one that likes to maintain. So I'm like, well, shoot, she's the missing piece, or something that I acknowledge or see that she could be the missing piece to us being together. Secondly, actually, another thing just came to me. Another thing is, because God made the woman out of man, we were just one at one time until we were separated. So all men and women are looking to be whole. So there's a piece that's missing on the inside of us that we're trying to join together. So I recognize my missing piece was in her. So okay, that's another thing too. That's another thing. I don't even believe in soulmates. I don't believe in soulmates. I don't believe that there's just one person in this world that's made specifically for you. What if that person is in Australia? How you gonna come across that person? The thing
Yeah.
about it is, she can become your soulmate. You can train her and show her, or vice versa. But but the soulmate, can be anybody, can have these particular qualities. You understand? So if something happens to her, I can find someone else that has the same administrative capacity to do the same thing. Now, lastly,
Larry,
lastly,
wait.
okay,
You're saying too much. You gotta
You
let us
saying
jump
too
okay,
in
much.
here.
Too
okay.
Don't
much. Too
lose your
much.
thought though. Don't lose your thought though. Okay. Oh, Jesus. This is good. I love it. Okay, I love it. So here's the deal. because you just gave us I had some questions going on in my head, and you answered those questions, which was, how in the world did you even know she was going to work for you if you didn't even know what your purpose was? But you answered that question, which was, there was something in you. You had your strengths and you knew what your weakness was, and you
Mm-hmm.
found someone whose strength was your weakness.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if y'all are listening out there, but he just kind of gave you an inkling of what you should be looking for when you're finding a mate. Yeah, it's all good to have all of those butterflies and that chemistry and all that stuff, but but at the end of the day, there's gotta, oh my God, Larry, what you just said was good. Okay, so he's
Mm-hmm.
piece in you, there's a missing piece of her, y'all come together, y'all become one and it's whole, right? But it's
Mm-hmm.
but it was because of what you were lacking. You were looking for someone that could hold you up where you were
Add,
weak.
right.
I think
Add that
that is
missing piece. Yeah.
okay. There's so much I can say, but let me get to Deidre's comment. She's got a couple of them.
Sure.
So she did say, I loved him, but we don't believe in the concept of in love. Love is simply a choice and not a feeling. Although my husband can make me feel all warm and fuzzy inside, I solely love him because that's my choice. And then she also said, there are things that he does that makes me feel happy, excited, etc. However, love isn't a feeling. Looking at a feeling chart, you will never see love on one. And I agree, that is true. I do believe that love is a choice. I do believe
Mhm.
that you choose to love, and it's nice when you kind of have that giddy feeling and those butterflies, or that person makes you excited, or you feel all fuzzy inside. But at the end of the day, it's got to be more than that.
Can I say this? Can I
Because
say this?
we're fickle.
Can I say this?
Go ahead.
Okay. Okay. When it comes to your children, okay, when you have children, there's nothing that your child can do that's gonna make you stop loving on them. I don't care if they steal from you. I don't care if they commit a crime. I don't care if they cuss you out. You're gonna love your child, and one thing about that, and that's something that you're choosing to do. When it comes to your spouse, why can't your spouse get that same response from you, or that same pass that your child can get? That's because you're
Why?
looking for your spouse to fulfill something in you, and you're equating it to a feeling and not a choice. See, you can't. You want
Well,
to give your spouse the same pass you give your children.
why are we like that though? Why are we like that when it comes to relationships? Is that a learned
Okay,
thing?
okay, okay. Here we go. You're gonna make me get in my preaching voice. You're gonna make me get into my preaching voice. Um, Again, we're gonna go back to what I said, that when you lack identity, you will create one. We're gonna call it the ego, and the ego has to be reinforced, right? So what happens, because of your inadequacies in life, you have made an ideal of self that you're trying to reinforce, and what happens, because you don't know who you are. Hmm, okay, let me give you the real true definition of love.
Give it to me. Give it to me.
Love is simply death. Death. It is death, okay? Death to yourself, death to the ideal of you. The problem is, okay, your problem is, I'm not pointing to y'all too, I'm pointing to whoever I'm talking to. I'm pointing to whoever I'm talking to. The problem is you're trying to get your spouse to die to you. I need
Take
you
me
to
to
make me feel.
Mm.
I need you to make me feel this way. I need you to supply my needs. I need you to do this for me. I need you to come off your high horse and do what I need you to do so I can feel a certain way. The problem is you're not creating a loving environment for them to choose to die to themselves. You trying to get them to die to you. So in other words, you trying to kill them, and that's why they're on the defensive, because they feel
Mm.
like they feel threatened because you're trying to kill me instead of creating a
Mm.
loving environment for me to die to myself. That's the problem. That's why we're fighting one another, because both of us have egos that we're trying to sustain and keep alive. But you're threatening my ego by trying to force me to die instead of me dying to me. So you need to die to you, and I die to me.
Well, I feel like he was talking to me. Was you looking? All right, let's quit playing. But that's it
Maybe he
though.
was.
I die every day, y'all. I promise you, I die every day. Okay, maybe 6 days a week. All right, so then Larry, what you said really, goes back to taking the cuffs off. So, we have these ideals, what we want a person to do for us, and we expect them to do for us, and we hold them to that. And sometimes it's not even express what your expectations are. And and then when they don't meet that expectation, we get frustrated, and we get
Hmm.
disappointed, and then we get frustrated, and then when we get angry, and then we become resentful because we're not getting what we need. And so how can you talk to the people about setting these false expectations and why it's just not good for a relationship?
Yeah, absolutely. Because again, when you have these your faults, you gotta go back and think about where these expectations come from. Why are you needing this person to make you experience some type of an emotion that's rooted in something? Okay, and what the problem is, that person. Okay, here we go again. You're attracted. We talked about this before, Angelina. You're attracted to what's going to heal you. See, whatever
That's
whatever is
interesting.
called whatever the thing that he is doing or she is doing that's making you feel a certain way. Okay, here we go. It's because you need healing in that area. You need healing in that area. It's a long suffering. See, okay, if you're going to pray for patience, right? If you're going to pray for patience, how you get patience is multiple opportunities for you to exercise patience, right? That's how you get patience. It ain't gonna just drop out the sky. God, just you praying for patience. God ain't gonna sprinkle some fairy dust and automatically overnight you're gonna have patience. You get patience from practicing patience. So
Okay.
if you're being angry and upset over someone has said something or done something to you, that's an opportunity for you to die. That's how you got to look at it. You saying this to me is not for me to fuss back at you. It's an opportunity for me to die to myself because you got to understand something. The reason why someone has said something or done something to you is not because of you. See, that's your problem. You thought what he said or what he did was your fault. You thought it has something to do with you, but it has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with his condition, his truth, okay? Which everybody's truth is a doggone lie. Your truth said, I need this. Your truth said, I'm this is who I am, and this is what it's gonna be, and this is what the world is. No, it ain't, because his truth has said something totally different. And the reason why y'all have your own truths is so that y'all can come into the truth to realize that your truth was a lie in the first place. The problem is you're not willing to die to the lie you told. You want to keep it alive. See, okay, let me use an example. If you said to yourself that, okay, you said men can't be trusted, but you still desire a relationship. You're still pursuing men or allowing men to pursue you because you desire a relationship. But you said your truth because your experiences are because one man did something back to you when you were 17 years old. You've had declared to yourself that men can't be trusted. So when you get married or come into a relationship, you're looking at any inkling that may look like lack of trust, and you're calling it that instead of having a conversation with him. So you fuss with him instead of coming to a consensus about what really happened, because you could be upset with somebody for like a couple of weeks, but y'all haven't talked. But once y'all talk, you realize, like, wait a minute, the things that I was thinking about concerning what I experienced, it wasn't what I was thinking. So now you feel much better. Now you feel relieved because your mind conjured up these ideas that weren't even true in the first place. And now you're living and interacting with this person with all this animosity and anger, and it's unfair to that person.
So how do you how do you identify when you're in a relationship, how do you begin to identify that that's what I need healing from, whatever that person just How do you identify that?
If it sparks an emotion in you in the first place, if it causes you to
Meaning
respond.
a negative emotion?
Yeah, negative emotion. Yeah, if you have a negative emotion, you have to go back and think about, okay, why do I feel this way when he says this? Because what happens, um, let me use this as an example. A young lady said to me that, this man who she's been with for 5 years, who she has a child with, that she's not married to, but they live together. That she said because of the things that he was doing, she said, I feel like you don't care. This is what she said to him. I feel like you don't care. Now, there's two things that's happened or that's occurring in that conversation or in that phrase. First of all, you started by saying, I feel. Okay, now we're talking about your emotions. We're talking about your feelings. But then you point to me and said, my feelings was based on whatever you did that caused me not to feel cared for. But the thing is, when you said that to him, he becomes defensive because to him, it's impossible that he's not caring because he helps with your bills. He makes sure the children are picked up from school. He uh he buys you things. He does things for you. But because he's not doing specifically what are fulfilling your inadequacies because you're looking for him to do this thing, but because it's not presented to you in this particular way, you don't feel cared for, right? But your that inadequacy is not his responsibility to fulfill. That's your responsibility to be happy and adequate when you come into a relationship and not look for that person to fill that void for you. Because then what happens, you're trying to get him to come out of his norm or his nature to make you feel validated. Now he becomes drained, or vice versa. That person becomes drained because they're so busy trying to make you feel wanted and needed and desired and all these different things. Not to say that those are bad things, but if it's inadequacy, it can drain that other person. So we have to be very careful about that. So if you feel a certain way about what somebody does, or you respond a certain way, you lash out, that speaks to something on the inside of you that has to be addressed.
So then where does the difference come between compromising in a marriage versus that person shouldn't have to do that to make you happy? I mean, again, I know happiness comes within. I
Right.
know, but we're still human. There's still the human side of us that we may want certain things just kind of make us feel good. You don't like my words, do you?
No, no, no. I'm just thinking. I'm thinking. Your words are fine, but I'm thinking it's stirring some stuff in me in my thought
because
process. But go
because
ahead.
we're still human, and even if you kind of you are pretty much a happy person because your happiness, you're making yourself happy. Your happiness is not tied externally, but then you're still human. You still kind of what human doesn't want to feel cared for or
Look,
loved, or made to feel good every once in a while. So when does it become, I'm not really trying to change you, but we're married, can we compromise? Can you
so
sometimes give me the things that I'm looking for, like?
look. When you compromise, does it? Bro, okay. You answer your. You can. You don't even have to answer aloud. Just ask yourself this: when y'all compromise, when you do compromise, does the same issue ever come back up again? And I say that because compromising is not solving the issue. Compromising is pretty much just tolerating one another. So what happens what happens until we address the issue, and we have to do it through love. Now watch this. Okay. Because because we are so displeased with ourselves and we are so inadequate within ourselves, we're trying to get someone else to feel our inadequacies. What we need to be doing is going internally, discovering what has caused the inadequacies, so that I can provide an environment of love, unconditional love. Because what happens is, if you're saying that I need you to do this so I can feel better, well, that's conditional. You're making things conditional. You're saying I have to perform this thing or I have to do this to make you feel good. Now, this is the
So then
thing. Let's
what
go
is
back to
love
Christ now, because I
languages?
think this is a spiritual platform. Huh?
What about love languages? Because then do you just throw love
Okay,
languages
we can
out
address
the door?
that.
Huh?
No, but we have a misunderstanding of what love languages are for. The love language is not for you to
Okay.
identify each other's love language so that you can perform it. The love language is
Then
for the
what is it
purposes
for?
of it's for the purpose of identifying each other's love language so you can identify when you're being loved and be okay when it doesn't look like
Ah,
the way you want it to look. See, you wanted
interesting.
to, and the love language exposes your area of hurt also. See, see, your love language may be gifts because you're uncomfortable with giving words of affirmation because your mommy and daddy never affirmed you. But your spouse love language is words of affirmation. But you tell them, I don't need that. Give me a gift. Give me a gift. No, I'm giving you what you need healing in.
So you got some issues when you got all them when you got like 3, 4 of them love languages in,
You
huh?
got it exposes your area of hurt. It exposes your area of hurt. You avoiding the other love languages because you never got it. And it doesn't necessarily mean that it was an area of hurt. It could just mean that it was a part of your culture. It's not part of your makeup. But your spouse may have the oppose or a different love language, so that can become your normal. But you're too busy finding that person to say, love me the way I want to be loved, instead of receiving the love that he already gives you so that you can become whole again. Because
I
as a child, you wasn't specifically as a child, you wanted to touch. You wanted to be heard. You wanted to be heard that your mom and daddy loved you. As a child, you operated in all five love languages. You'll make a card for your mama that you just made up. You'll tell them I love you. You want to touch all on them. You want to spend time with them. You operate in all five love languages. But your life, your traumas, your experiences, and your culture growing up cause you to veer away from all five to where now you only got two, and your spouse come into your life to heal you in that area, but you keep rejecting it.
hear you in what those 2 areas.
In those areas that you don't have or that you have not experienced, or you said that you don't need no more because what happened, you grew up coping without it. So now you say you don't need it no more. I don't need what I need you to do is give me gifts, or what I need you to do is spend time. Whatever your love language is, you're trying
Okay.
to get it, have it reciprocated.
All right, let's talk about me. We will just use me as a real example. I know y'all
Okay.
we went way over time, but okay, just give us a moment here. All right. So let's process this. All right. Growing up, my
Hmm.
mother's love, I didn't realize till I got older, my mother's love language was gift giving. She's a giver.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so she showed her love by giving people giving people things, right? So,
Yeah.
but of course, I didn't know that till I learned what love languages were and I got a little older to understand and know that's how my mom was showing me love. And I'm cool with
Exactly.
that. But then at
Yeah.
the same time, I still, if you give me a gift, that's beautiful, that's wonderful. But I don't necessarily um, have to have gifts
Right.
because I was in a
Uh-huh.
relationship where
Hmm.
I was in a relationship where the person was giving me gifts, but she was
Hmm.
cheating on me. So
Okay.
it didn't mean nothing because you was cheating on me. So to me, when you give me a gift, it's nice, it's beautiful. I love it. I appreciate it. I'm thankful. But I don't always necessarily see it. Like
Well, let
that's
me ask
just
you.
not my love language.
Let me ask you this question.
So
Let
do
me
I
ask you
gotta
this
be healed
question. So let me ask you this question. Because he
Yes.
cheated on you, did he not love you? Did he not love you?
In my eyes, he didn't. In
But he
my
did. But
eyes,
he. But he. Right, in your eyes, in your truth, he didn't. See, your truth
in
is a
my
lie.
truth.
That man. That man loved you. Your problem is instead of you identifying it as not being loved, you need to identify it as his brokenness. See, something's wrong with the man. There's an
Right, you
inadequacy
said
in
I know
him.
that that's what allowed me to. not get
Right.
so upset when I found out he cheated, he did this, that, and the third. Like
Right.
that helped me reconcile, because I know he was broken and he only knew what he knew. He was a product of his environment. So for
Right.
me, I was
So
able to recognize that and not really hold that against him. And
right.
you know what I'm
So
saying?
it's not a question of love then. It's a question of brokenness. So we need to address the brokenness. So instead of throwing people away, instead of giving them what you think they deserve as a result of the actions or the behavior they perform to you, you have to love them in their condition so they can experience something different. That's how they're gonna be healed. But because you're like, no, I need this from you, and because you did this, I'm not going to be dealing with you. All that does is reinforces their thinking and their brokenness, and they cannot achieve healing. So let's go back to this real quick, because I was going to mention this. Um, if when you, I'm gonna use my life as an example. I told my wife on air, on live, that there's nothing she has to do to make me feel loved by her. Right? There's nothing specific. She already does it by the things that she's doing. When I got healed from my inadequacies, when I stopped looking for love to look a certain particular specific way, I accepted the way she loved me, right? And what happens, the things that I may think that I want or whatever, I just perform them. And what happens, she just start to adopt my behavior. We start becoming one, because as long as we're striving and being divided and fighting against one another, what happens is you creating that division for them. I'm gonna stay in my mind and you're gonna stay in your mind. I'm gonna stay in my truth. I'm gonna stay in your truth. But if I just love her, even if I don't get the things that I'm desiring, what happens, there's going to be a behavioral change or a cultural change to where she just eventually adopt the things that I do. See, if your past said men can't be trusted, how you gonna get healed from it is being in a relationship where trust is exercised, or ultimately, when you realize that his lack of trust is separate from who he is, and love him for who he is, not what he's done, that can cause some healing within you and within him as well. So we have to stop. We have to stop throwing people away. Let's go back to Christ. I was gonna mention this. Let's go back to Christ real quick. What Jesus did on the cross was pay your debts and not give you what you deserve. Right? He did not give you what you deserve. When the people killed him, he was not justified. Well, there was no justification for his murder or crucifixion, and there was no justification. But he had justification to retaliate because of him being crucified without cause, right? But he said, "Forgive them, for they not know what they do." And that's what we have to do with one another. He's doing his behavior, his actions as a result of his not unknowing, his ignorance, and his culture and his brokenness. So if we just love and die to ourselves for that person, so that person can get healing or receive true love, which is our death, then they will eventually realize that what I'm experiencing is love, and I don't have to do the things that I've been doing, and I can experience something different. And that can become my new normal instead of me staying in my old normal or my old mind. I have a new way of thinking. Did that make sense? I'm sorry.
Yes, it did to me.
Okay.
Dion, you be quiet.
Yeah, no, I'm just listening. I'm just sitting in it because it almost sounds robotic. And I certainly
Hmm.
hear some of the things that you're saying, and I certainly
Hmm.
understand about the healing piece of it, and that
Hmm.
there's some things that we need to work out. I certainly get that, and
Yeah.
I get that it's a choice that you choose to stay in relationships for many different reasons. But yeah,
And let me say,
it almost kind of sound robotic, and I just need to
remember
sit
about
in
it.
that for a little minute. Yeah.
Now, okay, so when it comes to say if you're in an abusive, physical abusive relationship, I'm not saying that you should not create some type of boundary to protect yourself. Now, if you're in a physical abusive relationship, I do say that you need to probably separate yourself from that. Okay, because what happens, um, that person's hurt and pain and traumas that's causing them to have to be physically abusive can ultimately result in death, natural death. We don't want nobody being in a situation where, I know I'm supposed to die to myself, so let me stick around while this man physically abused me, or vice versa. I think that you can create boundaries and but still not throw the person away. You can still love that person from a distance. Like, for instance, if that person is being physically abusive and you in your right mind, because if you're in a physically abusive relationship, first of all, there's something about you that says, I deserve this type of behavior. So there's something in you that has to be addressed as well. But if you come into your right mind and he's being physically abusive, then you can say, you know what, I'm going to go over to my mama house, but I'm gonna make sure I'm gonna still come over and fix you dinner. That I'm going home, or I'm gonna make sure that the house is clean. But I'm going back home while you and I get help together. Now, I'm not saying that you have to do this. Some people say we're gonna divorce, and that's fine. I understand that, but there are some things that you can do to not have to throw people completely away because of their behavior and actions. If you give them a different experience, then they can have a new mind. I just believe in that, not throwing people away ultimately.
Okay, we had a comment in Victoria Scott. I'm not quite sure what was her husband's love language. I'm not sure who you're speaking of Dion or me or something. Larry said, can you elaborate? And then we got Katana who says, if you're broken, the broken where you can receive love, it's not time to marry them yet. Wait until they get level of healing first. So Katana, I think that's one of those things where uh if I'm understanding what you said right, that if you're broken, you can that they should wait and heal before they go into it. I think that's, to me, one of the biggest issues is, you
They
know,
don't know. They don't know they broken.
it, exactly. They don't know they're broken. They don't know that they are emotionally and mentally unhealthy. Like, they think nothing's wrong with them. And,
Right,
depending on the relationship, that might be their norm, not knowing that that norm is not normal,
right.
and
They're in
so
their truth. They're in their truth.
and and
That's
and
their
and we're
truth.
talking from a Christian perspective. Like you said,
Hmm.
people don't understand that they need to be transformed or that they need to be healed. So a lot of times we come from the Christian perspective and we don't realize that two broken people come together and they get married, and then like you said, Larry, they fall in love. So the opportunity to fall out of love is great, and that's probably why the divorce rate is so high. So it's not
Yeah.
until we come into knowing who we are and what we bring to the table. I'm just struggling a little bit with the robotic piece of it because some of it sounds a little robotic, but I certainly understand the emotion of it all. And I understand what you're saying about making decisions and deciding to stay in
Hmm.
relationships based on many different reasons. And I certainly understand what you said about marrying somebody and they have that peace to
Hmm.
heal you, because a lot of times when we marry our opposite, we do that because
Hmm.
there's something in them that we lack, and
Yeah. That's
God is
yeah.
trying to get something to us so that we can
Yeah.
be delivered from it. I get it. But
Yeah.
at the same token, as saying all of that, when I think about relating and relationship, and because I've been married before and I left a
Hmm.
marriage because of the continued cheating, it was
Hmm.
because I felt like he was broken, that I left
Yeah.
because I didn't feel like he had anything to offer me at that point.
You know what?
So,
And
to hmm
you had to, and I wonder what his truth was. I wonder what his truth was. Let me say this, as far as men that cheat or men that go from woman to woman, because I was that type of person where I've had relations with a lot of women, and it was because of, not because I'm a dog. See, see, you misdiagnosed me. See, you misdiagnosed me. It's not because I'm a dog. It's because I was broken. See, and that's another thing. So I was hopping from woman to woman because I needed to feel affirmed. I did not receive affirmation as a child, but the women affirmed me because if I was to have sex with them, if I was to be in a relationship with a woman, and because so it affirmed me in my looks, it affirmed me in my manhood and my masculinity, it affirmed me in my swag or whatever you want to call it. So, but what happens is because of my inadequacies, it was like a drug for me, right? So I would be with a woman, then once that was over, now it's like another week go by, 2 weeks or whatever. It's like, oh, well, I got to get that high again. So I got to go find another one and another one and another one because of an inadequacy. It had nothing to do with my inability to love. It had nothing to do with the girl that I was with. It was not, the problem is the girl that I'm with, right? You think that she believes that I'm doing it because of her. It has nothing to do with her. It has everything to do with my
Mhm.
brokenness. So if you can separate my
Mhm.
brokenness from who I truly could be or am, then maybe you can love me through the condition I'm in and kind of heal me out or help or participate in my healing. You know what I mean? Because what happens is I could say that if I say women can't be trusted, right? Even if I did cheat and you walked away from me, it just reinforces my thinking. Even if I was you justified in walking away. But that's why Christ died. He died with even though he was justified to come off that cross, even though he was justified to retaliate on the people, but he didn't. See, he stayed. See, so by staying, it gives me a new normal to say my way of thinking is foolish. See? And then I can come into myself and realize the foolishness of my behavior and experience what true love looks like, and I can have a new mind, a new heart, a new way of thinking. We're not willing to die for one another. That's the problem. We too busy trying to get them to die to you. And essentially, when you're trying to get people to die to you, what you're trying to do is be God over them. You trying to You trying to see? I don't want to get into that right there. But you're trying to be God over them until instead of pointing them to God. Essentially, I need you to do this, and you're judging them. This is who you are. This is how you're acting. This is you, and that's why they become defensive. Because when you say I'm a dog, I don't believe that to be so. When you say I don't care, I know that not to be so. I do care. I do love you. It's not a question of love. It's a question of condition, the brokenness. So let's address the brokenness and not throw people away.
All right. Some comments here. So Victoria came back and elaborated a little bit. Thank you so much for doing that. Not to justify his actions, I'm just curious as to if you knew what his love language was and if you feel like you loved him based off his love language, meaning the one who cheated. Um, if you're addressing me, I didn't know his love language. I'm not even gonna lie. Um, to this day, I don't think I know. He wasn't my husband though. He was just long-term boyfriend. But
Well,
I'm
maybe she's talking to
talking to
me,
you.
but
Okay,
I
you
think
go ahead,
so
Dion.
because
Did you know his
I,
love
we were
language?
No, I mean you broken. Keep in mind, broken people that marry broken people don't deal with love language. They deal with that word Larry talking about falling in and falling out of love. We don't. We deal with
Hmm.
the emotion of it all. We didn't. I
Hmm.
wasn't dealing with a love language. I was dealing with the fact that he went off with a woman and then he went off with another woman. I was dealing with that love language. It said to me that because he was so broken and he couldn't stay home, it felt like I needed to do something else. So that's what I did. But when you talk about broken people coming together and trying to establish a relationship and nobody knows how to, then
Right. Yeah. We're unlearned. We don't know no better. We're
yeah, you
unlearned. It's
you
not
you
being
you
taught.
you you hit you hit the door. Like, see you later.
Yeah. 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 I mean, that's
Like
and that's what
I can
happens.
find
If,
some love somewhere else.
yeah. Yeah. If you don't die to me, then you're gonna either fight or flee. Right? You're gonna fight,
Right.
flight or flee. So if you don't die to me and make me feel better, if you don't do the things that make me feel better, then I'm out of here. Or we're gonna be in this continuous fight
Well,
against
hey,
one another.
but listen, let me tell you this
Hmm.
from a given perspective, too, and the type of person that I am. I'm a fighter. I don't just
Hmm.
throw in a towel and run, but when you don't give me anything to work with, then I have to figure out what's my next move because you have to understand that even in my brokenness, I still had purpose. I still had some things that I wanted to accomplish and do. And because I didn't see that Cinderella thing that I was looking for,
Right.
created another issue for me, and I had to keep
Right.
it moving. Because what I'm not gonna do is I'm not gonna allow you to continue in your brokenness to do whatever it is that you want to do, and then bring that back like I'm supposed to receive it. When in
Right.
fact, God has something better on the other side of it. But I
Mm-hmm.
mean, a lot of times because we're broken, we don't recognize that we have choices and that we have to make certain decisions for ourselves. But even now, even after 30 years, Larry, I can't tell you that if this husband that I currently have,
Mm-hmm.
that I've been with forever, had he cheated that way, I can't tell you that I would have stayed. Not that I wanted him to die to me to do something
Mm-hmm.
so perfect or so right, but to be faithful was probably high on my list because of the fact
Right.
that it had happened already. So I needed somebody to be committed, you know. Um,
Mm-hmm.
if to the purpose or to the call, I needed that level of commitment. Which I think,
Do you,
God knew that that's what I needed, so that's what He sent me. But yeah, I'm still trying to. You said a lot of stuff that we kind of have to sit in and kind of have to, just kind of mull over it a little bit and see, where do I go from here? And I certainly understand what you said about making decisions and choices and
mm-hmm.
staying, because I chose to stay because we've had some rough times. Not
Mm-hmm.
anything like the first marriage, but marriage is work. It's hard work, and you got to constantly work, and you got to constantly choose to work while learning your partner's love languages, because we don't always know. Because as Black folks, sometimes we haven't learned how to communicate properly to let that person know, because of the way we were brought up, or because of the way we were taught, or if a lot of Black men, fathers not being in the household showing their Black men
Mm-hmm.
how to love women unconditionally, like you talk about. So very
Mm-hmm.
interesting.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
y'all, listen, we done had a lot of comments. I ain't even put them up on the screen.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. We like, I guess they're enjoying it, and I'm gonna cut this off real short here soon, but let me go ahead and share a few comments, okay? Because I always appreciate my audience coming and joining the conversation. So, with that, I'd like to share some of the comments. But we had Anitra who says sometimes they don't know they are broken. I honestly believe some areas are not touched until they have to see themselves through their spouse. All by yourself, you think you are altogether lovely. Then you live with someone and the death begins. But does it really begin? Does it really begin? I mean, because you got broken getting with broken. And again, I think you just said I'm altogether lovely and I can't recognize that I'm emotionally and mentally unhealthy and I'm not seeing that healing that I need in my spouse. So, where the heck does it begin? Where
Yeah.
does
Oh,
it
Yeah.
how do you find it? How do you find it?
How
Because
do you find
that's
it?
the
I
thing.
got
How
some
do you
more
find it?
comments too, but how do you find it? As y'all speak, I'll throw some more up here on the screen.
Yeah. You have to
Eventually,
really.
we have to have a part two, y'all. I guess because we can't keep here everybody here all night.
Yeah, it's as far as finding it, you have to go internally, you know. Like I said, identifying your inadequacies or identifying your areas of hurt. If what someone can say to you, if somebody can say something to you or perform an action or have a certain behavior and it makes you feel have a negative emotion towards it or a negative response, you have to go internally and say, where did that come from? Why am I responding to that person? If you understand that what people's behavior is not who they are, then if you understand that if they're in the likeness made in the likeness and image of God and they are a child of God, so you treating them or retaliating against them is not justified because of who they are. You recognize that the behavior that they're displaying is a result of the condition that they're in. So why are you feeling a certain type of way about it then? So you have to go internally and see, okay, where did that come from? It's just like I'm gonna go back to your children. Your children can fuss and fight and act a fool and steal and have and wreck your car, steal your car, all these different things, and you could be upset with them, but it doesn't cease you from loving them. It doesn't cease you from embracing them. It doesn't cease you from letting them stay in your home. It doesn't cease you from doing whatever you can to make them propel in life. It doesn't cease because it's a continuation to choose to continue to do that. The problem is we're not giving our spouse, we're not giving our friends and our family. I know we've been strictly talking about relationships, but it's still with friends and family too. We don't give them that same pass because we think they're adults and they know better. But we ain't nothing but a bunch of grown old children, some grown kids still stuck in our emotions and want things. We want immediate satisfaction. We want immediate pleasure. We're trying to appeal to the soul nature, the flesh, the carnal mind, and we're just adults acting like children. So you expecting so much from these adults that we won't get on the same path that we give our children, you know.
This is
I
a
hear
tough
you.
conversation.
Yeah, yeah, and
Part two.
yeah.
Yeah, you
I
think
agree.
they
We need to
yeah,
have.
you
I agree. We
Because
need to have a part two. Because
Dion needs to say
yeah, I really do because coming from a background too, the background that I've come from, my parents were loving, and my father, I didn't see cheating from my father. My father was a hard worker. He took care of his family. He
mm-hmm,
loved his family. He loved his wife, and he did the best he could with what he was working with. So even though they had their own issues, because they certainly weren't perfect by any means, but you knew that he was faithful. You knew that he was coming home. You knew he was going to take care of his family. And so that's all I saw. So when I saw something different, I made a decision based on what I was taught. So a lot of things are learned and a lot of things are taught, and we carry those things throughout. And even sometimes now, and my husband that I have now, and with him selecting me, or we selecting each other, however it went, one thing that I looked for the next time around was somebody like my father, somebody that had a heart like my father, somebody that would love his family and take care of his family, and would learn how to love beyond just like you said, the physical, or someone that wouldn't just go out just because he wanted to go out grazing because of brokenness, that he would be committed to the lifestyle and the marriage. So um i I understand what you said when you look for people, that can fulfill a purpose, or a person that can fulfill what you're looking for. I know it's still tied to an emotion, but because of the brokenness in us, sometimes that's all we have to hold on to until we get healed, and then we recognize some other things along the way. So I
mm-hmm,
just wanted to say that, and to say that if you're unhappy with who you are and you don't like what you are, because we do teach who we are, we should learn how to do something different and teach something different, and allow ourselves to go through the emotional healing so that we can make better decisions when it comes down to spouses. I'm still dealing with the feeling thing, though, Larry. I'm not gonna tell you that I'm not, but I'm gonna sit in it, and I'd love to have a part two with you, because I think that we're not done. I think there's a lot of things that we still need to say, and a lot of areas that we need to go in there. People still have some questions, and
mm-hmm,
maybe even as I search in my heart a little deeper, we may agree on some things. We may disagree, but we may agree on some things, and I might be able to bring another
mm-hmm,
level of conversation with you. But right now,
mm-hmm.
I'm just sitting in it.
so.
Yeah,
We
no
will
problem.
probably have to do this again. And Larry, we do invite you back because it's a lot of comments and questions coming out here, and some of it I think is still going back to that feeling, and then also the expectation of this is how I want to be loved, and I want you to show me love the way I want to be loved. And so Victoria Scott says, I agree with that. In my relationship, the way we receive love are totally different than the way we show love. And it took a long time for us to figure that out. So I had to come out of my comfort zone and show him love in a way I wasn't used to. It was robotic, but now it's starting to become natural for me. And so to me, that's a compromise, right? He wanted to receive love a certain way, like whatever his love language is, and she made a conscious decision that that's not kind of my nature. but I'm gonna compromise and I'm gonna come a little bit out of my comfort zone to give him what he wants, to meet his expectation. Is that wrong?
That's not wrong. It's just not right.
On that note, y'all, we're gonna say good night. Oh my goodness.
Okay, I'll leave it with this then. I'll leave it with this. Going back to me personally, my need to be a see, I was calling it support. I was telling my wife I needed you to support me. I needed you to have my back. I needed you to help me propel me into my destiny and my purpose. But what that really spoke to, and I made her, I essentially made her God, because I said that her words held the key to my salvation. I was looking for myself to be fulfilled within myself, and I was waiting for her to give me the words to make me feel that strength, or that feel that certain way. See, I made it predicated upon her, and I gave her the responsibility to uplift me. See, that's unfair for her, because the things that she was doing was her supporting me, like when she cooked me a meal, when she did my laundry, when she had my children, and when she took care of me when I was sick. All these things are support, but I needed to look this particular way for me to feel better about me. See, so I'm trying to get her, and trying to get her to condition herself to change who she was, so I can feel better about me. It always goes back to me, or I always go back to you about the feelings or the inadequacies within you, that you're trying to get that person to appeal to your discomfort, or appeal to your inadequacies. That's where we and that doesn't mean that she doesn't have to, or that she can't give me some things that I'm asking for. But I have to ask myself, why do I say I have to have this? Why am I saying that I need this in order to feel better? Like, where is that coming from? There's an inadequacy there that I'm trying to have her be responsible to feel for me. It just, you know, yeah, and I don't give her that responsibility no more. I don't give her that. She's not responsible to do that, to come out of her comfort zone, to come out of herself. I'm not saying that she has to. I'm not saying that she that I don't. I'm not saying that she doesn't, and I'm not saying that I don't want her to. What I'm saying that I don't need her to make me. I don't need for her to do it for me to make me feel better. I already know who I am. I'm fulfilled within myself. I'm happy within myself, and it's not predicated upon what she can do or say to me.
Mm.
All
Listen,
right. All right.
I am gonna stop this right here because now I gotta sit in it. I'm gonna have to sit in this because I just, Larry, oh my God.
Listen
Listen.
to this. If you said I can't live without you, that's a red flag for me. You trying to tell me if something happened to me, you gonna kill yourself? Your happiness, your life, your sustenance, your being is based on me alone.
No, no. But okay, look, y'all, I promise y'all, just give me 10 more minutes, okay? And then I'm gonna let y'all go. Okay, listen. I'm gonna use me again. Let me see. Anitra said, well, let me see. Tracy says, yeah, I love True. Keep it great job, Larry. I love True. Anitra says, when I do step out of myself to do something in that regard, I am dying to self. Let me read that
Yeah.
again. When I do step out of myself to do something in that regard, I am dying to self. But
When she
but I'm confused. Should you step out of
Yeah, but I'm not requiring it. I'm not requiring it from her. That's the difference. I'm not
Okay, okay.
requiring it from her. Because if I require it, and if my how I feel today is based on her doing my requirements, then the love becomes conditional. I need you to do this for me.
I
And if you
can
don't
I
do
can
this for me,
appreciate that.
I don't feel love, and I'm not gonna stay. I'm gone. I'm leaving you because you don't do the things I'm requiring from you.
Okay, okay. So let me say this. And I'm gonna speak now and ask for forgiveness later.
Okay.
I'm gonna use me again. Hopefully, Doug don't get mad because we on the World Wide Web. All right, yelling in the background. All right. So one of my love languages, because I'm gonna share because I want people to learn something. Okay, so one of my love languages is acts of service,
Hmm.
and I need my husband to do things for me. Okay, I need acts
Okay.
of service. All right. Now it goes back to something you said, and I don't remember your exact word, but I love him whether he do these things or not. But
Okay.
require them of him because a sister is tired. Like I'm tired. I got a lot. I'm doing a lot. I'm tired. So what is wrong with me wanting him to maybe take on certain things so that he can relieve me of my tiredness? Okay.
Now that's different.
You
That could
cleaning
be
that up,
different.
but okay.
You said I'm cleaning up.
That could be
Yeah,
different.
you cleaning that up, but okay.
Okay.
Are you talking? Are you referring to him simply helping around the house? Or are you talking about I don't feel love or care for if he don't do these things? Is that's I think that may be
She's
different. If
saying
you're
it's
just
her
me
love
saying,
language. She's saying it's her love language. So
Well,
see,
evidently,
see,
she don't
see,
it,
feel
see,
cared for
okay.
if he doesn't
see.
do it.
So are you saying if he don't perform these actions, then I don't feel loved by him? Is that what you're saying?
Sometimes, yes. That's what I'm
Okay.
saying.
So,
Now,
but so
I know that's
okay.
not necessarily, I don't necessarily put that on him. What? He trying to talk. You just want to, okay, you can be on part two. So,
Tell him type it in. Tell him type it in.
he talked to me.
Make a
All right.
comment.
Like, would you want to come sit next to me? All right. So, but, so sometimes I get a little frustrated and I get a little tired because I just be like, I don't want to make the phone call and I don't want to do whatever. Like, can he just say, "Oh, babe, I see you working so hard. Let me do that for you."
Yeah,
Like,
you want to feel a certain way. You want to
I
feel
want
a
to feel
certain
a
way.
certain way. I want to feel good. I want to feel appreciated. I want to feel love. Like,
Right, right.
what's wrong with
But
that?
but if we saying love is a choice and not an emotion, then what are we talking about? Do we
Say
agree
what?
with that? Do we agree? Do we agree that love is a choice and not an emotion?
I do. I mean, yeah, I do. I do.
So what he's so here, huh? It says acts of service.
But Larry, what you're
Love,
talking about,
love is something you do, not
right? But what you're talking
something
about
you feel.
is
Acts of service.
non-conditional, and a lot of times we haven't learned that non-conditional way of doing things because we like to put a condition on it because of the fact that we need to feel a certain kind of way in order for our world to go right sometimes. So
Yeah, that speaks to it.
and probably because of women being such givers, we do so much in a day's time. We take care of the kids, we take care, the husband want the loving or whatever. We got to keep the house clean, we got to do so many things that sometimes out of a need after doing all of that, maybe I just need somebody to rub my feet, or maybe that's a love language for me, for you to, so I think sometimes, we do things out of emotions and out of a need, because as women we do so much. See, men, I can understand you men saying that because you don't have as big a responsibility, so I can understand and almost appreciate you saying that. But to me, it almost nullifies all the things that we do and the things and the way we do things, to say that I shouldn't expect anything from you because that should just be because I want to do it, and not necessarily because I don't want the house to be nasty, or I don't want the kids to be nasty, or I want y'all to be able to eat, because if I don't cook, you're not going to have a meal. So I'm still struggling with it a little bit, and yeah, I'm just struggling with
Yeah,
it a little bit.
yeah, yeah. I understand, and I mean, look, this is my perspective. This is my viewpoint. This is what has worked for us. What works for you guys, I think it'd be just fine. What I what I would like to say is, if again, if with him doing a particular action to make you feel better or feel love, I'm telling you, it speaks to an inadequacy within you. It speaks to a void. Like, I need him to perform a particular action to make me feel better. Well, that's a void. There's a void there. There's a void there. And
Well, yeah, there's
and
a
to
void when it
say
Boy,
comes
and to
to
and
right.
to
house
say
clean.
and to say I don't feel cared for or
Yeah, it's a
loved
void.
because he doesn't do this. Um, that says, um, um,
It don't
that's where
say
you
that
can
I
fall
love
out of
him no
love.
less.
No,
It
I
don't speak
honestly
to me
don't
loving
think
him
that
any
means he
less.
No,
doesn't love me.
I'm talking about feel love. Yeah, feel loved, or cared for, or cared
Yeah,
for.
I know my husband loves me. I know he cares for me. I know that out of the things he does and his
So
actions.
so so if he doesn't make that meal when you're tired, or he doesn't answer to make that phone call when you're tired, why do you go to, I don't feel cared for, I don't feel like you don't care, or I feel like I'm not loved? Because
Because I'm dramatic.
and watch this. And no, all right. Sometimes it be manipulative too. Now you trying to get him to die to you.
I don't
You
necessarily
start.
know that. I don't necessarily know that I'm trying to get him to die to me. I'm just trying to get him to show a little appreciation every now and then.
just
But
just
but
every now
but
and
but
then.
but that's the thing. You're defining what appreciation is. Appreciation in his mind is maybe something totally different. You're saying my
So then it's just
So what
communication,
you're
right?
saying is that I shouldn't expect anything. There should be no level of expectation, and I'm struggling with that.
no, I'm not
Because you
saying you
almost,
can have
you see,
expectation.
again, that's where I come to the roboticness of it all, because you're
Hmm.
saying that in order for that to happen, that there should be no levels of expectations. And I'm struggling with that, because in a relationship, in relating, just even with a friend, not, let's not even talk about a marriage, let's just talk about a friend relationship. In a friend relationship between Angelina and
Hmm.
I, because she and I are good
Hmm.
friends, I expect for her to show up a certain kind of way. Not that I need her to be everything and all or whatever, but in order for us to have a relationship, she got to call sometimes, or we
So
got to do something
so
sometimes. There has to be something that we do so that we know that we still friends and we're
so she
relating one
so
to another.
so she can't act out of her condition, of her area of hurt, and disappoint you sometimes. Because if she does
Oh, I'm not saying
disappoint you,
that. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. Now
right?
ask
That's
me
what
if
I'm
she has
saying,
disappointed me sometimes and vice versa, but and probably so at some point in time. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that I don't love her no less because she's not
right?
calling me 24/7. I'm just saying in
Right.
relating in relationships, you almost
Mhm.
asking me to be a robot and not have a level of expectation, and I just think it's kind of far fetched in some areas. Yeah, I'm struggling. I'm struggling.
What I tell you before we came on here, I'm the good one. I'm gonna give you a hard
You
time.
kept me on here too
Question
long.
though.
You
We
you
got a
kept me
question
on here
though.
too long. You kept me on
I
here
know,
too long.
right?
what
Are
did
those
Joy? What
love
did Joy
languages?
say?
Are
What did
those love
Joy?
languages or expectations, or do they run together? Our love languages expectations. I think
Your love language is not for someone to perform the love language that you display. The love language is to identify how they love, so you know how to acknowledge it and receive it when it's given to you. So if his love language is gifts and your love language is time, if he has no time for you, but he makes sure there's a gift on the bed when you come home, he's showing you love. The problem is you don't want the gift, you want the time. So you get disappointed, or you don't feel loved by him because he's not displaying the love language that you display. Instead of acknowledging what he has done to show love, and him not being able to be there doesn't mean that he doesn't desire you. And that's another thing. We believe the lie that if this person does not perform this task, right, or do this thing or have this type of behavior, I'm not loved or I'm not cared for. That's a lie. That man do love you. That man does care for you. And just because he doesn't do these perform these actions doesn't mean otherwise.
But the reality is, I understand your definition of what a love language is. But the
Hmm.
reality is, most people, when they think of a love language, it's what they're expecting, right?
I
Right.
must
Like
really
That's a
be broken.
misconception. That's a
I must really be broken. I must really be broken. Okay. That's all I got to say about the subject. Okay. I must really be broken because I have a level of expectation. And listen, I'm not giving, I don't want no more from you than I'm willing to give myself. Okay. And I give a lot. I give a lot. I give a lot sometimes without even expecting some things back in return. So, yeah, Larry,
Man.
yeah,
So so
listen,
we can war another day.
listen. Joyce says a very
but
good
that's my
point. I
thing.
think that's
Christ died with no expectation. And that's the thing. We, because of our inadequacies, see, Jesus knew who he was. See, Jesus knew who he
wait,
was.
wait. What you mean he died with no expectation?
What I mean
What
by
you
that is he again his death was not justified, right? His death was not justified. So when we say um his death wasn't conditional, he laid his life down. He didn't do it out of, even out of force. He did not die to them, he died to himself. He said, I chose to lay it down because of the love God has for you. He said, I came to die. And that's the very thing we have to do for one
Well,
another.
yeah, I was
See,
going to
you
say
came
it
to
was
die.
purposeful.
You came to die. It was purposeful, right? And it also was to display the ultimate love. The ultimate form of love is death to self, right? And not giving what people deserve. See? So, but to say that I need you to do this, it speaks to a condition. You need it's conditional. Your love is conditional. You want them to die to you opposed to you dying to self. Because if you recognize that their behavior again is based on their brokenness and their condition, and you can separate them from who they truly are, right? Because that's what Jesus tried to show you. He said that you're worthy of the love. He said that though you doing this behavior, or you doing this thing against me, I still love you. And what he said, he said, forgive them for they not know what they do. And that's the same thing, or the same type of thought process we should have for one another. Forgive him. He don't know what he do. He's in his condition. He's broken, or she's broken. She's in her condition. So I can still love you through your condition. And when I love you through your condition, I give you a different sense of normality. I give you a different response, because all your life women threw you away because of your behavior, but I ain't going nowhere. Or all your life, men threw the woman away because of her behavior. But if I say I ain't going nowhere, then my ego or the ideal of myself has to die, because you're threatening the ideal of me. When I say that men can't be trusted or women can't be trusted, or all men cheat or all men leave or whatever, but a man decides to stay, it threatens the ideal of you. So you'll start doing things to sabotage your relationships with one another, to reinforce your already made up mind about men, or made up mind about who you are. I know that was a mouthful, my bad.
Yeah, it was. Tell and Angelina, I'm interested to know what Anitra meant when she said no. So if Anitra could elaborate on what she meant when she
I think
said
she was
no.
I think she was answering Joy's question. Are those love languages or expectations are run together? And she's saying no.
Oh,
Nitra,
gotcha.
you
She
can
was
tell me if
answering
that's
Joy.
correct.
Okay. Okay.
All right, y'all. It's 8:59. We're gonna get off of here. All right. But I just want to comment from Joyce because I think it's really, really valid. This could take us out of here. It's all about communication. Just tell him what you
Mhm.
want or her what you want, because we can't read each other's mind. So I mean, if you want something, just say that's what you want. But if they don't give it to you,
You're right. What you gonna do? What you gonna do? What you gonna
If
do?
they don't give it to you, just chuck
You
it
just
up and be
SO,
happy anyway.
you
Don't
You
just
give it
gonna
so
to
out of
you.
luck.
no,
You
Just
just
you
so
got a
chuck.
out of
choice.
luck.
You gonna define it as he don't love you, or you gonna define it as he's incapable? What you gonna
Well,
define
we
it
don't
as? You
have
got
to
to make a
define.
choice.
Why do we have to define it that he doesn't love us? Why can't that just still be a need, even in my brokenness? Why can't that be a need? Why do we have to define it based on whether he loves me or not? Because I decided to stay, so evidently we can communicate it that we're gonna stay no matter what. So how come that can't just be part of my love language? And we, if we're gonna communicate and just say that that's something that I need because it's a love language.
Yeah, I think it's if it's a
Because
need out of
everything can't
brokenness, that's
be,
where the problem is. If it's a
everything
need
can't
out
be
of
out of
brokenness,
broke. Yeah, but see, I'm struggling with that everything being about the brokenness though, because as a human being and with real human emotions, um,
so if you're saying, babe, I'm tired, I need you to cook tonight, right? Or say for instance, my wife, she likes the dishes to be clean, right? Before she goes in there and cook. And I may eat some cereal or whatever, and I may not wash some dishes. So if she goes into that room and the dish is not clean, she initially felt like I did not respect her, or I didn't appreciate what she was trying to do. It had nothing to do with that. I grew up. It has nothing to do with her. See, when you go back to defining my actions as a feeling about how you feel, it speaks to an inadequacy within you, because me not doing the dishes has nothing to do with her. Me not doing the dishes because I grew up not having to do the dishes. So it's not a natural behavior. It's not natural. It's not cultural for me. I don't mind dishes being in the sink. I can make some cookies with dirty dishes. My wife needs the whole kitchen to be squeaky clean in order to bake some cookies. I'm not
I
like
don't
that.
blame you, Anitra.
But if you're equating that to, well, he don't care about me, or he disrespect. If it's equating to a brokenness, and you can decide that. If you're saying that his action or behavior makes me feel not loved or not cared for, or he disrespected me, or he doesn't appreciate me, that speaks to your inadequacies, not mine, because it has nothing to
Okay,
do
so
with
did
you.
you start cleaning up them dishes?
Yes, you know why?
Why?
Because when she stopped nagging,
My friend does not nag. You
okay,
will
watch
not
this.
do her. You will not do her. Go ahead.
No, but watch this. Watch this. If she just leaves me, okay, what happens is, if that wasn't my culture, she can create a new culture. So if I've been 20, we got married at 26. I went 26
she was
years not
trying to
having to
create
care
one. You
about
wasn't
dishes like
receiving
that.
it.
No, but it has to. But the thing is, you can't try to kill me at every moment. You have to let the culture begin to cultivate in me, and I will start to obtain a new normal, because now I'll just wash the dishes. But if you're trying to kill me
Well, bless the
before I
Lord, you
decide
wash
to
the
die to
dishes.
myself, then I feel threatened, and now I have to fight back, and
So,
now
so
we have a,
here's the
a fight.
thing. Here's the thing, Larry, and
Uh-uh.
we're gonna let this go, but I gotta say
We're
this.
gonna stop
Here's
it.
the
We're gonna
thing.
cut it.
Here, well, no, but I have to say this before we cut it. Here's the thing. What happened if you never die to yourself and you never, because I'm trying to create a culture and you never get it? Because there's some men out there that never get it. Okay, and because
Yeah.
they weren't raised that
Mhm.
way, and because mama did everything or whatever, they don't feel the need to. And because they don't feel like they're broken, that they're whole, they're not gonna,
Hmm.
they're not, maybe not gonna ever wash those dishes, even though
Then
I'm trying to
then you
create
do the
that
dishes.
culture. Huh?
Then you do the
Yeah,
dishes, and not
I hear
equate
you.
and not
See, that's where
equate
we
it.
got a problem, but I hear
But
you.
wait, but wait. Then you do the dishes
He
and not
said, she said
equate
that
it
I
with
didn't
him.
nag, Negro. She said that I didn't nag to you, Negro.
That's why I smiled when I said that. She didn't nag, but she did always bring it up. But this is what I'm saying. You do the dishes, right? And watch this. Don't equate him not doing the dishes to how you feel about you. That's what I'm saying. It has
Oh well,
nothing to
no, I
do with
mean,
you.
he just don't like to do the dishes. So there you go. That's,
There it
he don't do
is.
the
Stop
dishes.
stop thinking it has something to do with you, to the reason why he don't do the dishes. That's the problem. That's the lie that
That
we're
now
telling
that's another
ourselves.
that but now you we talking eggs and we talking about eggs and bacon, but okay, Angelina, yeah, we need to close this session out
Yes,
because
yes.
we
Part
need
two, we'll
part
talk
two
about
and part
creating the
three.
culture to cultivate.
Yeah, we need part
That
two
that's
and part
that's
three.
part two, creating the culture to cultivate.
Right, right, right.
All right,
We
y'all.
we
We're
need to
gonna
have
cut
you
it.
on here next week so we can continue.
Yes, we're gonna
All
cut
right.
it. Thank you so much for joining us, Larry. I
Thank
appreciate you. Thank
you.
you for coming on
Yes,
Appreciate
here.
you.
thank
I look
you.
forward to having you back here again. This was really good conversation. I hope we weren't too hard on you. Two women against
Nah,
one.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it.
All right, well, as always, keep continuing to tune in here every Monday at 7:30. We thank you so much. And as I always say, be unbothered. All right, you all have a
Yes.
good
Peace.